Welcome back to African Voices. Earlier on, we were talking about how Majid made it through from Bungrieve to becoming a student union president and becoming a councillor. Now we're just going to move on to how he became a councillor. I believe, Majid, before you decided to become a councillor, if I can go back to the university, I believe when you became a university president, the student union, I believe that's where the inspiration came from, will you say?
Do you know what it is? When I was student union president, I had nothing involved in politics. I couldn't honestly tell you the difference between left or right. I wasn't engaged in like party politics. I knew I cared about certain issues and topics I wanted to campaign on. Even I can remember even at the hustings when I was trying to get elected as student union president, there was a question somebody asked saying, "Are you going to join the picket line to support the strike of the lecturers?" I had no idea what a picket line was. I just said, yes. And then I got around the process, that must be a good thing. But I was literally like, politically, I wasn't engaged party politics, but I knew I cared about certain issues. But then when that kind of came to an end, and me and two friends, we set up a digital marketing company for 2 years. And then from that, I decided to part ways. And then I kind of came to Sheffield, was working for a charity called Shelter. And I guess when I was living in like Broom Hill and Broom Hall at the time, I just wanted to play more of an active role in my community, I suppose. And then the politics kind of came is 2014, the rise of UKIP, and when they kind of won the European elections. That's when I kind of started to read a lot more into politics, and just because I think it's common that a lot of people from BME backgrounds are naturally Labour supporters. My family being included, one of them, to be honest. So that was my natural kind of thinking. But then when I kind of looked into it a bit more, then looked into a lot of the policies and how the parties run, and looked at the Green Party, it literally was no-brainer for me. It was the easiest decision I made, because a lot of the core values and principles.
So share that decision that you made now. Why the Green?
Okay, brilliant. So the reason I kind of decided to become a Green Party member in 2014 was for many reasons. First of all, they were the only party that was against austerity, that had a clear red line saying we are against austerity, where Labour weren't. There was the only party that said we are for free education, uncompromised free education, whereas Labour necessarily any other political party weren't really. Even when it kind of came to stuff like what policies and like supporting immigration, like foreign policy, a lot of it was with the Green Party. Even small things, even for example how the parties run. So for me, when I kind of was looking into it, and I find out within Labour, same as Lib Dems, Tories, it's only the main top person or a couple of people that decide what the party policy is, and everyone has to run with that. Whereas with the Green Party, it's actually the members that decide, and then so it's like more ground up, and it's actually the leaders that have to implement what it is. So at conference, it's Green Party members that decide what the policy is. So you've got more of a say than having dictating, because major political parties, depending on who your leader is, you can have entirely different policies and you can change all the time. Even the fact that there was no whip system, so I was free to represent my community. I wasn't going to be dictated to how I was going to vote, even though, of course, we agreed and shared the same principles. So for many reasons like that, it was literally just on a moral thing. I said, I can't support any other political party than the Green Party, and then got involved with them in 2015, and then just was their kind of fundraising officer for a while, just did a lot of campaigning in the area, and then decided to stand in 2016, and then just got elected.
How did the Green Party win your seat?
So in 2016, it was a by-election. So it wasn't a by-election, it was an all-out election because the ward boundaries changed. So whenever the ward boundary changes, all the seats are up for election. Normally it's one every year, but this time all of them were up. So you had two of the Green councillors in the ward already, Aidan and Brian, and then the other councillor was a Labour councillor called Jane Dunn. She then moved to a different ward because it was no longer a safe seat for Labour, because they thought they were going to lose. So she kind of moved on to, I think, another ward, and then so we were looking to win all three wards, to be honest. And because from my understanding is the other two Labour candidates who became councillors were paper candidates, because up until the election, one of them, Michelle on the Labour Party website, said that she was standing in Dore and Totley, which kind of wasn't the case really. So, but it was the rise of Corbyn. That's when Corbyn was coming into power. There's a lot of, with local politics, it really, what's happening nationally has a massive impact on what's happening locally. And so a lot of people that like Jeremy Corbyn, even though they can't vote for him in local politics, is different, would naturally kind of then end up voting Labour. So ended up being a really bizarre situation where my two fellow sitting councillors didn't get re-elected, and as a first-time councillor, I got elected. So it was very bittersweet, to be honest, but that's how politics works.
Will you keep your seat?
Sorry?
Will you keep your seat at the next election, what do you think?
I hope so.
So since then, how have you found it, being a councillor?
And I've honestly really enjoyed it. I've met lots of amazing people. I've had great opportunities. I've managed to meet some really great activists in the community, worked in different caseworks, done lots of different things. And that's the part of it I like, that actually working with people in the community, the problem solving, the case, that's the part that I really, really enjoy, to be honest. And then the other aspect of it is, like, for example, you've got a full council, which is a bit of a pantomime, as a famous Labour councillor once told me, but it's not the best part of full council, even though, of course, it's a very necessary part, because that's where all the motions and stuff get passed, but it's my least favourite part of being a councillor. And I think many other councillors, regardless of what party you are, would also agree with the fact that they all enjoy actually engaging with people and just trying to support people.
And one thing I've noticed as well in Sheffield, many Africans are getting into the Green Party. Why do you think so? Because, as you said,
because
many
they see the truth.
Many BME were used to be Labour or are still Labour, but now many are switching into Green Party. Why is that?
Do you know, I think one of the things as a Green Party in Sheffield we're really good at is we do all year round campaigning. Is everybody knows we're not going to get into power. We're not going to take over the council anytime soon. But what people do see, they see hard-working councillors actually work for the community all year round and not just come and knock on your door only when it's election period, for example. Because we actually are out in the community speaking, actually out there working with people where not many other councils of different political parties necessarily do. So I think people are just kind of saying, I think it's just not just credit to me, credit to my other colleagues and other activists, and it's like, it's great. So we've got a lady called Kulthum and Rivers who's standing in Broomhill.
I spoke to her just 3 days ago.
Did you? Yeah. So it's quite encouraging. I've got a responsibility to be encouraging people from my own community, the African community, to say, listen, whether that is Green Party or not Green Party, we need more people from my community to get involved in local politics.
So someone who is interested in getting into local politics or in being a councillor, what would be your advice to him or her? I just say is do it. Like, just any tips?
Yeah, any tips is like, just, I guess is the dynamics of it is different regarding of what route you want to take, to be honest. But the one thing I want to get across is you don't have to be a councillor to make change. You don't have to be an MP or politician to work in your community to have a meaningful impact. You can literally, I think some of the most successful campaigners, people have actually made a real difference in Sheffield and nationally, are people that aren't involved in politics or whatever. It's just the fact that I'm quite fortunate enough that it does give me a bit of a bigger platform to speak about different things, but equally you can have more of an impact, do more for your community without actually getting involved in politics. But that doesn't mean I want to discourage you from getting into politics. By all means, get involved in politics, because we can do with more people actually having a say. Because currently Sheffield City Council, who are meant to be the representatives of all of Sheffield, regardless of what political party or whatever, it doesn't represent the population of Sheffield, whether that's age-wise, whether that's gender-wise. I don't know about gender. I'm not sure. But probably not. I don't think gender-wise, to be honest. There's definitely far more men than women. But also even like people of colour as well. So we've got a long way to actually try and change that.
I mean, for me, that's an important discussion to have there, in terms of how represented are the ethnic minorities in the council, especially Africans, and how do you find are Africans in this case having a voice that is heard, and do you think that they can they do make a difference? Are they being able to effectively contribute to policy debate?
I definitely think so. We've got the BEMA hub, which is part of the Equalities Hub network at the council. So I think there's always improvements that need to be done, to be honest. And I think, even from my situation, I'd like to think somebody like, say, from an African background can say, oh, well, because sometimes I think people might think, oh, we could never do that because that's not for us, we don't do that, because they've not necessarily seen somebody else that's done it. So hopefully by me becoming elected as a councillor, being Lord Mayor, made people from African communities to be able to say, listen, well, it's already been done, so it's not impossible. Well, this person grew up in the same community, even if you're not African or you can be Pakistani or whatever background you come from, this person's come from my community, whether that be Bengal or whatever, and he's done it, so it's possible. Because sometimes I think it's giving that visual representation, that look, because if you can identify with somebody and say, oh my God, that person, I can relate with that person's actually got a lot of similarities to me, that will hopefully inspire people to say, well, why am I not doing it? I can do the same thing, and I'll be able to hopefully support as many people as possible.
Okay, talking of becoming a Lord Mayor soon, which you're going to take over the role in May.
Yeah.
You've been a Deputy Lord Mayor since last year.
Yes.
How is that preparing you to become a Lord Mayor?
And yeah, it's a bit of a warm up. I don't think it'll really fully prepare you, to be honest. But it's a really good insight how things are, and it's a great opportunity and a privilege, and it's something definitely I'm really fortunate and proud of, to be honest, just to be able to represent Sheffield, which is like 4th largest city in the UK, and it's just got so much going for itself, and to be able to actually be the first citizen of the city and the main.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're going to be one of the youngest mayors as well.
Yeah, I'll be the youngest mayor in Sheffield ever. That's like, because I think with Lord Mayors, it tends to be normally be people of a certain age when they kind of come into the end of their tenure as a councillor, possibly, and then that's how they necessarily become Lord Mayor. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, it's a very bizarre situation I've managed to find myself in, but I'm really, really grateful for it. And it's just a case of what I do with it, because it's fair enough, like anybody, like, oh, fair enough, that's Lord Mayor, but it's what you do with that time and the impact that you have at that time that actually makes a difference. Because fair enough, somebody can be I could be Lord Mayor and do nothing. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, that'd be such a waste, to be honest. But to be able to use my platform to inspire people, try to bring about certain changes, try to do the best I can, I think that'll be the challenge.
How did you become Lord Mayor?
Okay, so you have to be a councillor to become a Lord Mayor. And the role of the Lord Mayor is non-political, because you're chairing the full council meeting and you're there to represent Sheffield. So when you're in the role, even though I'm still a Green Party councillor, but when I'm in the role of Lord, when I've got the chain on, I'm meant to be non-political because you're representing the city. So the way it kind of works is this year, and it's kind of a points-based system. So you have to be a councillor, and then depending, like, political parties will put somebody up forward, and then it's for the full council to kind of accept that, kind of like agree to that as a motion, and then that's how it kind of goes through.
So as an African, how many councillors do we have in that chamber? Do you know?
African councillors?
Yeah.
Apart
from you?
I think just me.
And you made it through?
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, I suppose. But yeah. It's but yeah, and it's like I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, I did everything by myself. It was all me. Of course, I had supportive friends.
True.
And I've been fortunate to have certain experiences that encouraged me. Because to say, oh, I did everything by myself, it's all me, that'd be quite ridiculous and selfish and not true, to be honest, because nobody can actually get some without some sort of support network. So I'm actually quite...
But when you take over the role now as a Lord Mayor, like you said, it's going to be non-political, you're meant to be impartial and that kind of thing. How are you going to be as a Green Party? As you and I know, you've been into so many, like, if I can say, put it that way, troubles with the Green, with Green councillors being arrested and that kind of thing, the tree issue. So how are you going to
with the
manage
Greens, you can tell me by law, as someone who's as a journalist, what do you think of the Greens in Sheffield? Do you think they're troublemakers? Do you think that
I'm not commenting on that. You are the one that's going to comment on that.
Okay, I'll answer that for you. But it's like, I think what we really do well, we pack more than we can punch. We definitely punch above our weight, because we're only 4 councillors, and the Lib Dems are the main opposition. But we tend to, we see, for example, tend to get a lot of media coverage or whatever, but we really do hold the council to account on a lot of stuff, and we kind of like try campaign on a lot of stuff and just really stick our necks out there, to be honest, just to kind of represent the people and do what we can do. And it's like, I will still have like, just because I'm Lord Mayor doesn't mean I can't speak on certain things. Of course, if I care about a certain issue, I'm going to be speaking about it, and nothing really would change as much. But I guess you do have to be careful when you're in that role, when I've got the chance to be, not to be talking about party politics, because the whole point of it is just to unite, representing the city.
Okay, in terms of moving on, I understand as well, you appeared on the hit show Hunters, on the Channel 4 show. How was that?
That was interesting, to be honest, and by now. It wasn't what I expected, to be honest, and it wasn't what they marketed it out to be honest. It was an interesting experience, and I don't regret it whatsoever. Well, the concept of it is you're kind of just meant to try and evade capture. But a lot of the audience, the way it's kind of portrayed in TV is not what it is in real life. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of production and stuff that's produced, kind of stuff. It wasn't the adventure that I was hoping for, that many people thought it was. But I did really learn a lot from the whole process, and I did get to meet lots of amazing people as well.
Yeah. Will you advise anyone to go into that kind of show?
That one, probably not. But everyone's got their own different experiences, to be honest. But this was just like, I wouldn't even say it just was anything big.
I'm not saying you were not popular.
Yeah.
But it's made you hit the headlines.
Yeah, of course. Well, because it's a national kind of show, isn't it? It's like a kind of one of like Channel 4's flagship shows. So of course, anyone that kind of watches it and says like Deputy Lord Mayor of Sheffield is going to like have some sort of like press coverage on it, to be honest. And it's honestly the support from friends, family members of the public, people from Sheffield, everyone's been nothing but amazing, to be honest. But would I encourage people to kind of go on it? From my experience, I necessarily wouldn't. But it's just like, it's just a TV kind of thing. Like, I wouldn't necessarily kind of take it seriously. It was just like something I thought would be interesting to kind of do for a while. But in a couple of weeks, but...
we've got 5 minutes. I need to get into your politics now.
Okay, go.
So earlier on you said that you weren't very clear or very, when you started Students' Union politics, about the left-right dichotomy. Where are we now? How far left are you? How far right are you?
It depends when you speak. Some people say I'm a complete right, like as far left Trotskyist. But some people would say, oh no. But some people would even call me a liberal. But people, do you know what it is? That whole left, right, and I think it's just a way to divide people, in all honesty. Of course, you do get your people that have got really extreme right-wing views. But I wouldn't necessarily put myself anywhere, say, or how would you even, I would definitely say, on the modern, what we know today, I'd be on the left, like for sure, fact. But then the left is so big and diverse. I wouldn't necessarily know where I kind of fall in that. But
okay, let's try and do that. Okay, where are you on immigration? Is immigration a good or bad thing?
Anyone that says it's a negative is a lie, to be honest. I'm 100%. Immigration in this country has become more of a gain to society than a drain. So it's definitely positive. I'm all for immigration.
Should we include the student numbers in our immigration numbers?
No, I think we shouldn't, because it's like, it depends what we use the kind of figures for. Because students actually, international students, play a big role in not just in our society, but in our universities, in our experience as students. So I think the more international students, the better. They shouldn't. It's actually quite a sad situation, the fact that international students have actually, some of them been rejected for some applications. But so you got some other questions.
Okay. And should we have stayed in the EU or not?
I was remain. I think we should have stayed in the EU.
You want to remain?
Yeah.
Should we have another referendum?
And I wouldn't call it another it would be another, but it wouldn't be on the same thing. It'd be a case of, because I still genuinely believe nobody knows what we voted for. You know, kind of to leave the EU, but we didn't know under what terms, to be honest. So I would be in favour of having a final referendum to kind of say this is the options.
Okay.
Just to make a final point there, were you asking another one?
Yeah, I was going to ask him. Should we build more bombs?
No. I think we should get.
He's a green man.
Trident, to be honest.
All right, just to make a final point, because we've got less than 3 minutes, that I wanted to bring up. You'll be going to Paris soon to raise money, and you've been an activist as well, trying to raise awareness, campaigning about immigration. Just a few days ago, you helped organize that event, One Day Without Us.
Yeah.
How was that? How did you get involved in that?
And a guy called Matthew Carr. And what I got involved just because I cared about the issue, to be honest. And then just where there was a team that kind of got together last year and it wasn't as big and successful as it was this year. And then literally we kind of thought, listen, let's celebrate this day of action to celebrate the contribution migrants have played in this country. And then we kind of just thought, let's have a celebration, and we kind of had that as you came along to it. And I think it kind of like sent a really good message across Sheffield.
Are Africans useful migrants to Sheffield? Are they of the same value as other immigrants?
110%. It's like, it's a good point you raised, to be honest, because like when in the media, a lot of, there's this thing of what is a good migrant and what is a bad migrant. And there's like, people always think, oh, European white migrants, they're the good ones and anybody else is a kind of bad. Even though people from like Africa and Sub-Saharan, like whatever, Asia, whatever, they play a massive role. And so I necessarily wouldn't say one is better than the other, to be honest. But I'd say immigration as a whole, regardless of what your background is, have got something that they can actually bring to this country.
Just a final one for us to end the show today. What would be your message? What would be your advice to the many Africans that lives in Sheffield?
Keep being amazing, and just thank you for all everything that you've brought to this wonderful city of Sheffield, and let's work together and just get involved in democracy and local politics and just let's celebrate our community louder.
With your experience, is there anything you think you can do, whether or not you remain in council or you're outside council? Is there anything you can do, or you were thinking about doing, or you think you could do to encourage the participation of Africans in local politics and even national politics?
Yeah, I think it kind of starts with basically just going and engaging with them. The more engagement and communication I have with them, and just the kind of, as well, the work that I do, working together, I think that'll help.
Okay, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. We really appreciate the presence of Councillor Majid today, and we wish him all the best in becoming a Lord Mayor. Thank you guys for watching. Until next week, from me and the rest of the team here, you have a good night.